right in the heart of soul pulling.
What should you fight for? See, when you get in these custody situations, people will say, you fight for 50-50 custody. Well, you already actually got 50-50 custody, even if you know, are the non-custodial parent. So they play that game with you. Oh, you should fight for 50-50. Yeah, it's still considered 50-50 if they got the kid 5 days out, Monday through Friday, and you got the kid on the weekends. The difference is when they got the kid 5 days out of the week, you're paying child support for the 5 days out of the week and the 2 days you got them. That's what that is. So what should you fight for? 1 week on, 1 week off. From the beginning, 1 week on, 1 week off. And then fight for proximity. And what that means is, and especially when the kid's in a school or whatever, you know, fight for if the kids if you're going 1 week on, 1 week off, and say they're in the daycare, doesn't matter. But by the time that kid hits first grade, school age, fight for proximity. And what that means is you can have 1 week on and 1 week off because both of you have to live in the school in the same school zone as the school. So say if the school has a 5-10 mile radius, whether grade school, high school, whatever, you have to be one place over here, they have to be one place over there. Because now you still can have 1 week on, 1 week off. So they can be at your house 1 week, the other house the other week. So now it's not all these shenanigans where I have to have the kid the majority of the time. And it cuts out the whole child support thing. 1 week off, 1 week on. Proximity. If you get that, cool. And the crazy thing is, people try to finesse themselves out of that. Oh, I got a new job, or I got a new relationship. I got to move to another city, or further out, or to another state. And see, that's when you got folks, because it's like, no, this is what they used to. Proximity. What? Because now you force people to stay where they're at. You might not even like being that close to your ex, but guess what? Ain't about you, it's about the kid. And when it's about the kid, that's how you got to play it. And with the court can't say nothing. Even though maybe you just want to be close because you don't want to pay. Yeah, whatever. I want to be able to pick my kid up from school. You can have him Monday through Sunday. I can have him Monday through Sunday. What's the problem? I can raise him just as well as you. So by the time you have those instances where, somebody wants to pick up and move, you're on equal footing. Like, so the goal is, so we can keep the kid where they're at, where they've been, where they're accustomed to, where they have friends, family, a whole thing going, or we can move the kid to a different, county or city, county or parish, depending on what state you're in, or a different city or a different state, and they have to start fresh. Normally, they're going to stick to what they've already known. Now you can't just up and leave with no consequence. So that's what to fight for. 1 week on, 1 week off, proximity. Even if you don't want to be that close to that person. But it's because if the child gets sick, if the child get hurt, you're still somewhere in the area. You get what I'm saying? So, and y'all have to be in the exact same school zone. Like I said, if it's a 10-mile radius, they can be on mile 1 and you can be on mile 10. As long as it's zoned to the school, you're still 10 miles, 9 miles apart, however you want to slice it, 9, 8, whatever. But you're still miles apart from each other. You don't have to see each other, and you can have the 1 week on, 1 week off. Have your own life. So, and then you can work out everything else that way. They'll tell you the tax situation, maybe 1 year on, 1 year off, because y'all have them equal time. You get what I'm saying? Because that goes into it. Because what winds up happening is people are fighting for full custody, and they're not telling you all of a sudden because you're a man and you want to fight for full custody, they're going to throw you behind the 8 ball because somehow in these people's minds and hearts, you shouldn't have that. If you fight for joint custody, it's like you don't really want the kid. That's basically how these games go. So what should you fight for? That's what you should fight for. And it's and no matter how people slice it, it's really the best plan of action. Because at that point, if you mess up, it's going to go to, let's just say, predominant custody to the mother. If they mess up, they're stuck to have to give you predominant custody. They don't want to, but they're going to have to. You get what I'm saying? Um, but there is one thing about this. If things like if that goes in your favor, if you fight for that and it goes in your favor, great. If you're fighting for, just say 50-50, and you put yourself in a position where if you win, you got the kid, but if you lose, they have to have stipulations. So they still have to keep the kid in the same school, be in the same area. They can't up and leave and up and move. They can't do what they can't just take your kid and go wherever. Because what happens is, even when you lose and they have stipulations, you have to abide by the stipulations or you're going to go back to court. So you have to be on your toes and prove everything. Everything. Because they're going to throw you under the bus. So you might as well throw them under the bus. But here's the thing. Even with that, and this is very true, a mother could win and break all of the stipulations and then get rid of the judge and say the judge is going to be biased because they broke the judge's rules. Understand that's a possibility too. That's part of when I said, you can't move. Because they'll move and then move to a different city, different state, or they'll make a motion to get a new judge because they feel like the judge is unfair to them, even though the judge could rule in their favor. And then when they get the new judge, then they bounce. So this is why I say this is what you fight for. Because this is the type of stuff that goes on. So fight for the joint where it's 1 week on, 1 week off in proximity. If you can't get that, then fight for, joint, but you want to be the custodial parent. And if you can't get that, make it so convincing that if the other party wins, they gotta have a lot of stipulations with them. They just can't just walk off free willy-nilly. No. Don't do that. So we're gonna get into the next part. You ever been at the top of the universe? I'm gonna tell you that.